Grand Rapids Rock Alternative 97.9 GRD. Hey, it's Ned hanging out on tour once again. I go down so many damn interviews, man, but each one of them is just as impressive, and I am super stoked like no other to be sitting next to the mastermind of so many things a part of my life, from home movies to Metalocalypse and especially Dethklok, and that is Brendon Small. How's it going, man?
It's going well, thank you. It's good to be here, and thank you for saying my name correctly. I appreciate it. We're off to a good start. Yeah.
I do my research, you know.
Yeah.
How's the tour been going? I know it just basically recently started. How's it been going so far?
Well, it started a little slowly because our first few gigs were right in the path of Hurricane Sandy, so we had to reschedule those shows, and we had to wait in a hotel room for the storm to pass. So I got a lot of reading done. I've been reading a couple different books at the same time, and there are a lot of good gyms in these places, and but now we're on the road. I've got an amazing crew and an amazing group of musicians that I play with who just don't make mistakes, and they're just monsters. So it's been really, really smooth, and the shows have been great so far, and we're spoiled rotten with these amazing audiences that really that have been topping each other from show to show. It just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, especially with Gene Hoglan on drums, man. I mean, that is brutal stuff.
He's great. He is like he's been there from the beginning, and I'm incredibly lucky to have him be involved and excited about this project. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I've been a huge fan, as many of other people as well as too, of Metalocalypse. How did you kind of come up with each one of the band members? Like, how did you find out their personalities, their names, and everything?
Well, it was a pretty simple thing. I think what I first did was I called Adult Swim and I said, I've got a show idea, and I think this is going to be a pretty cool one, and I think I'm going to be able to do it because I can do the music and I can write it and I can run the show and all that stuff. But I want to make sure that. And he said, well, that sounds great. It's about this band, blah blah blah. I didn't really know who was going to be what. Yeah. And he said, why don't you just write up a treatment? And I said, you know what, before I even do that, before I get into characters and the world and all that stuff, I'm going to take a couple of months and just write music for the band, and just, because I figured if I can make the music stand on its own, then maybe this show's got a shot. And I know as kind of a persnickety guitar player and a metal fan, you know that you've kind of got to make it something that's listenable. You can't just be like stuff that goes in one ear and out the other, and something that would hopefully be able to you'd put on a record at some point and hopefully sell, and then tour. So what it told me was that I really like guitar harmonies. I'm a big fan of Brian May from Queen, and I wanted to make sure that this had two guitar players at least, so I could do these twin guitar leads and then the drummer and the bass player and all that stuff. And it all started making sense. I figured if I had one guitarist who we would call the fastest guitarist alive, even though he's not a much faster guitar player than me playing really fast. Right. But we thought, wouldn't it be funny if the other guy was the second fastest guitarist? And I thought, okay. And I thought, Yngwie Malmsteen's from Sweden. Wouldn't it be nice to have this guy, Skwisgaard, from Sweden also? And then, so the other guy would be Norway. It was just Sweden, Norway, fastest, not as fast. It's just kind of like the way that they see each other. One was less good than the other.
Always a constant battle, pretty much.
Yeah, there's always like, guitarists are kind of weird sometimes, or sometimes they're very competitive. And then we thought, the singer's kind of the quarterback. The bass player, like back when I was started listening to metal, you could never hear it in the late 80s, early 90s. And so I thought that's got to tell us a lot about this guy's character, is that he can't be heard, so he's got to overcompensate with his personality constantly and prove that he exists in some way by being this annoying asshole. So that's where Murderface started making sense, and just like this self-loathing kind of individual, which is one of the most fun characters to write for because he's just full of more contradictions than anybody else.
Right, yeah.
And Toki's fun too because he seems like the brightest, nicest kind of childish, but he's the darkest one there too. He's got more problems than anybody. And he's
always drinking, of course.
They're all always drinking, but but yeah. So that it was just the logic of like in a group, and from musical experiences that I've had from any kind of creative collaboration, I'd bring anything from like things that happen on the show. I write that into the show, and I just keep folding all that stuff in, and we're it's been 7 years since I started the show, and I think the characters keep getting more dense and interesting, and that's just the whole thing, is to keep them alive.
I've been there from day one, man, all the way.
Cool.
In a previous interview, you recently stated that Dethklok will continue, but Metalocalypse will probably eventually meet its end. Do you have any idea when that may or may not happen?
Um, no, I don't have any. I mean, I have a certain amount of story I want to tell, and at some point, yeah, you know, you have to. I think it's important to end your show. I think, you know, I think otherwise you're just vamping, and there's a lot of other stuff I want to do, you know, with comedy, with just performing, with acting and all that stuff that doesn't really have to do with Metalocalypse, but I think it'd be cool if the music kept on going.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it'd be cool. You know, maybe the show can keep on going, and maybe I just won't be as big of a part of it. But it's definitely, you know, it takes up your whole thing, and it's very consuming.
Just with animation and the music alone, I mean, taking that.
Just writing and just running a show. I mean, we don't have a huge staff of people. Everyone has to do 2 or 3 jobs. The editors also direct. The writers also, like, you know, people have many different jobs on the show. So sometimes the directors composite, and it's about working really, really hard because we're on a cable budget ultimately, you know.
Yeah, good call, man.
Trying to make it fun, you know.
Yeah, Mark Hamill recently, because obviously he's a pretty big part of your show. He's always on there, being Star Wars fame, you know. Yeah. And with Mark Hamill, he recently said that season 5 is currently in production. Is that true?
No.
No.
No, it's not true. I like that he said that, though. I like that he. No, I love Mark Hamill. He's awesome, but it is not currently in production right now. Right now, what I'm doing is touring. That's so. Yeah. So now I was in production with and touring at the same time, and that was just too much work. At some point, I had to say, this is a full-time job, touring. Mm-hmm. You know.
You don't want to burn yourself out too in the end.
Yeah, I definitely. I want to make sure the show has life and is treated with the respect that it needs, and I don't want to be burnt out while I'm doing it. Yeah. So it was important just to have the tour be the tour, and we have another installment in the works, but I can't talk too much about it.
Bummer.
Yeah.
DETHALBUM III obviously recently came out. What kind of or with the show coming up tonight, how much of the material are we going to be hearing from that certain album?
I think we had 4 songs originally slated, and we thought, you know what, there's one other song we got to add to this thing, so we put one more song in because I knew it was kind of be one of the more popular songs on the record, so right. So we put that in there. So you'll have to check it. You have to see it and check it out. But yeah, the record came out. It hit number 10 on the Billboard charts, which is pretty crazy. It's the highest charting record that we've done. Yeah. And it's amazing that it's such a weird place for music right now, and it keeps getting worse. But the fact that people checked it out is an amazing thing, because I don't expect anyone to buy all this stuff. When I put out a record, I consider it the only audience will probably be me, because, you know, that's how I put the records together, is that, you know, I just want something that I would listen to, you know.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's good, and it's refreshing to hear that, being that you got to make the record for yourself. If you enjoy it, chances are the fans are going to enjoy it too.
I don't know about the second part, but if you enjoy it, that's at least somebody enjoying it.
Yeah,
you know,
good enough, right? I mean,
yeah, no, I mean that's all you can hope for. Same with a TV show is, you know, if you can make something that I think that you feel is worthy of what you enjoy about television, then if you start second guessing and starts becoming a little bit cynical and stuff, right. You know, start trying to think of what an audience would want as opposed to what you would believe you would want as an audience member, you know.
Yeah, good call, man. Also too, you've been composing music for a long time now, especially since the beginning of home movies, and I've been a huge fan of that. Have you ever imagined that you would be on tour right now, just touring around the world and just playing the music that you make?
From the home movies days, definitely not. No. But when selling the idea of Metalocalypse, that was part of the whole big picture. Was the idea is that, you know, here's a TV show, I write the music because I can go into a room and go do it, and then maybe if that all does well, then I can do a record, and if I do a record, then I'll have to do a tour. So that was all the big wad I threw at All Swim. We can do all this stuff if we work really hard. But from home movies days now, home movies was just about me at the time, kind of, I was rediscovering my guitar throughout home movies, because I kind of put it away in its case for a while. when I finished music school and started doing comedy and stand-up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was just about me kind of learning how to write and learning how to act, and then in between those times getting up on stage as often as I could and just getting into the stand-up world.
Right, yeah. Man. Definitely, you're definitely a very busy man. I can respect the living hell out of that, man, for sure.
Well, thank you.
Now, you've been busy with a lot of stuff. I mean, obviously the release of your solo album, Galacticon, as well as DETHALBUM III. What's next in the world for Brendon Small?
Oh, such a good question. That is such a good question. Well, geez. It's kind of about, I've gotten to do a lot of really cool stuff with music, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to top what I've gotten to do, from meeting my musical heroes to, you know, to like getting Gibson to put out a Dethklok guitar, which is pretty amazing. I play it live, the Thunder Horse, and then we have a new one that's going to be coming out soon that I also play a prototype of.
Oh, sweet.
You'll see it at the top of the show. If you come out, you want to see the new Dethklok guitar. I have the world's only prototype right now. The first guitar that I play at the top of the show. You have to go to the show and see it, though. But that'll be on the market soon. But all those cool things, I don't know what I'm going to do. So with music, because I've gotten to do everything I want to, I think the next project I want to do is going to be, just like Metalocalypse is so different than home movies. You'd never think that it was the same person doing them. Right. The next thing I want to do is going to be very, very different than Metalocalypse 2, and it's going to be a live action project. And I will be acting in it, and it'll be probably my tribute to my favorite TV that I grew up with, or that was there before I grew up, and that will be what my next show is.
Sweet, definitely looking forward to that, man. And speaking of kind of things that you're maybe doing in the future, if Dethklok could tour with any group that, I mean, because obviously you grew up in metal and whatnot, if you could tour with any group, what would it be?
Oh, geez.
Living or dead?
It'd probably be the Glenn Miller Orchestra, I think, just because it'd be contradictory.
Right. It's two different things entirely.
Yeah, I think their fans and our fans would probably have some kind of a big fight. Metal bands, I don't know. I love. There's so many great bands out there that would be such a blast to tour with. I've gotten lucky and toured with. I was really looking forward to touring with Gojira.
Yeah. I think we all were on that one.
Yeah, because they're a diamond in the rough. I mean, there aren't. It's very rare that a band comes along and has its own voice. So when that happens, it's an exciting thing. Of course, they're like huge. We've gotten to open for Iron Maiden before.
That's a badass show.
That was pretty amazing. So I'd love to tour with some of the bigger guys and some of the smaller guys out there. I love so much. Like, I love Meshuggah a lot. They'd be really fun to play with. Of course, Metallica, Slayer, and I don't know. Guys that really play their guitars, or even just some of my guitar heroes I'd love to play with. Anyway, I could go on.
You really could.
Specific, but well, it's a big question. Yeah.
Right. To wrap things up, anything that the fans should know coming up soon, or anything with the tour especially?
Well,
Season 5 of Metalocalypse?
Yeah. Well, just stay tuned for the next announcement of that stuff. That'll be soon, but. Check out DETHALBUM III. I think it turned out really cool. There's a vinyl version of it that just came out recently.
It's in the mail for me.
Yeah. It's here at the show now, too. So that's the thing about this tour, is it's a big traveling store that you can buy all your stuff, because you can only buy stuff like T-shirts and stuff here. They don't sell them online or anywhere else.
Yeah.
So there's like a whole stuff that has to do with very specific to the show. The only Dr. Roxo T-shirts that you can get are here. Anyway. Save your money, mow some lawns. It'll be worth it.
Now I'm going to be broke by the time I leave the show tonight, because I'm going to be walking away with a ton of different merchandise.
It's good stuff, though.
It's quality.
Yeah, it's quality. It's quality stuff. Yeah.
Fantastic. Brendon, man, thank you so much. It is a pleasure to meet you, man, and thank you so much for creating everything that you have done. I mean, seriously, you are... in my opinion,
I'm not going to stop you. Keep going.
You're just so good, man. God, we're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, man. And it's Ned and
Brendon Small
from Grand Rapids Rock Alternative 97.9 GRD.